going back to the thing that you always talk about, Bobby, like it's unfair to put so much of it on Tatum or this or that. Like, okay, you walk onto the court tonight without Jaylen Brown. Who are your leaders?
Tatum.
Kemba played like it.
And Kemba did. Tatum, Smart, Kemba. Kemba played like it. Tatum and Smart didn't. So, yes, you're going to look at Jayson Tatum and say, you absolutely just shit the bed in a night that they needed you badly. So yes, this is why. And this is how you can criticize a person who is in the last 15 days scored 53 and 60 points, in separate games. Those are great. And it was great. And that was awesome. You just can't have these. You just can't have them. You can't be the leader of the team and come out here on a night where they need you to do a little extra something and just kind of decide, I don't know if I'm really going to play in this one tonight. You just can't do it. It's on the leaders to lead.
There's been moments that, again, everything you say is true because there's been plenty of losses that have come as a result of that this year. Tonight, I think was just a recipe of the Celtics not knowing what they were doing in terms of a game plan because of the roster situation they had in place, and the Bulls having their full cast, being fully connected and playing really good up to their potential. Levine was amazing. Vucevic was awesome. Patrick Williams, I'm so impressed by. So this is a legit team. You just look at the impact, even on that group, of having so many young guys. Like every time I watch Billy Donovan, I feel like his head's spinning at some of the stuff they do because of who they have to rely on in turn. And they're not going to the playoffs this year because of some of the injuries and weird stuff that they've had going on along with that youth. They're almost in a similar position to Boston in that sense. Great player at the top, some real good depth and awesome starters if they're fully loaded. But when they get to the Denzel Valentines and those kind of guys, it gets really shaky there. And again, I think a lot more teams have had years like the Celtics than you guys realize. Like they're just not going to the playoffs. And if you look at that roster, that's almost inexcusable from Chicago's standpoint.
After the Vucevic trade, it is surprising that it kind of went in that
9
direction.
and 15
Yeah.
since that trade.
How long was Levine out for?
2 weeks or so.
Yeah. That hurt him. I mean, they weren't playing great.
How about him, huh? He just woke up at the right time. Jeez.
He was awesome.
The door
he was good last year too.
Oh,
he's a matchup problem. I mean, because of his ability to get to the rim, shoot the mid range,
and now he can shoot.
Ball.
Now, his efficiency this year is off the charts. He actually we talk about
he's another Hanlon guy.
We talk about how good Jaylen's been. Look at Levine's numbers across the board. His percentages, 2-point, 3-point percentage have been unreal all year.
Yeah, dramatically.
Shot selection.
I like Kobe White a lot. Again, there's so much to love on that team.
Kobe
then
White,
you look and they're in 11th place. It's like, what happened there?
I never thought of the Smart, not debate, but when we talk about Smart and how the team has not embodied his spirit this year through the lens of viewing it the way like Miami does with Jimmy Butler, it's an interesting comparison because that is kind of, no one questions that Marcus has heart and plays hard, but the team does not follow his lead if that's the case. And whether he's doing it as consistently as he's done it in the past, I think you can question that this year too, and whether that's injury or not. I'm not seeing it night in, night out from him, but if he is the guy behind the scenes and all of the quotes and everybody still says he's the heart and soul of our team, it's not translating. It's not, maybe they think it, but they don't act on it. It's a bummer because Jimmy Butler is the exact example of, and this is a guy who was being vilified for his behavior, with Minnesota a few years back, and everyone's like, oh God, you don't want to touch this guy. And it's actually the opposite. It's where he goes, he completely turns the culture around and people follow his lead. The expectation is you got to be here to be on the court with me. And if you're not here, we're going to have a problem. And that there's nobody doing that with Boston right now. And you need that desperately. You need that desperately right now.
I just remember before the start of the season, we talked about the free agent signings, right? Tristan Thompson and Jeff Teague. Whereas, these guys are going to give you a little muscle, something off the bench for the defense. You got a little bit for shooting. But I thought both of those signings had a lot to do also with what they were going to do in the locker room, right? I just feel like that those reinforcers, so to speak, that the Miami Heat have, I think that's what the Celtics are trying to get these guys. Listen, we don't know what happened in that locker room with Marcus Smart. Shirtless Marcus Smart screaming, back and forth. We don't know the extent of that argument, but we do know going into this regular season, I feel like the Celtics sort of made it an effort, made it a point to say, look, let's get some great locker room guys in there. And I think Tristan Thompson is definitely one of those guys. It's unfortunate things didn't work out with Jeff Teague. Obviously, that's not what the Celtics envisioned. But I think for the most part, like I don't. Again, I'm not saying that Marcus Smart has to sort of rally everyone together and everything, but he's just one of many voices that should be doing that in that locker room.
The problem with Marcus isn't that
in the league for quite some time now.
The problem with Marcus, I think, isn't not just that it's not. He's not good enough, and that's not a knock. It helps when the guy who's also kind of your heartbeat and the guy who you follow is also one of your best players or your leading players. He's a valuable player, but more of a role player. He's realistically most of his career been a bench player. It's hard when that type of player is the one who's like, hey guys, follow me. But he can't go out there and knock down the big shot or do that. All he can do is dive on the ball, dive on the floor, make some hustle plays and ratchet up the intensity on defense, which should help. But Jimmy Butler can affect the game in multiple ways and kind of,
I love how Smart sets the tone
lead
as a passer. Again, I think in these last 4 or 5 games where he hasn't been able to score at all, he's done it in other ways by finding a spot on the floor and hitting his teammates again and again with good assists. He's just not as empowered to do it when Tatum has the ball a lot more and Kemba is looking to get his own shots. I sent you guys a graph earlier. Amount of unassisted threes. Tatum's like one of the highest leaders on that chart.
Yep.
Brown's way up there. I believe Kemba's got to be up there as well.
Because they dribble a lot.
There's a disparity on this roster between the shot creators and the guys who need to have shots created for them. And Smart's a guy who could fill that gap, but they'd have to really empower him as a scorer and facilitator. And it's difficult to when your strength of your team is those 3 isolation guys who can create shots. And that's probably a big reason the bench struggles as much as it does. I know we blast Grant and blast Semi and all these guys, but those are guys that need shots created for them. And if the top of the roster is not getting that done, what are they going to do? You want Semi and Grant like posting up and driving to the rim off the dribble? Like that, no one would want to see that.
No, you don't. You just got to go ahead, Shrug.
No, I was just going to say that, that's why this team is a big part of why they're so up and down, because you have 2 different styles of play that you're trying to play every night. You have this iso ball that you have some guys who are very good at it, but your foundation has been in ball movement. And so there has been a rocky transition from this team that's filled with guys who understand how to get the ball moving. And the guys that help facilitate that, guys like Rob, guys like Marcus, they don't have the cachet to do what they do well, and what has won this team a lot of games. And I struggle with the idea of why that's so hard to get away from a style of play that you've won with to go with something different that while made more comfortable for your best players, isn't winning you games. Like Jayson looks way more comfortable in ISO situations, but is that really the best thing for your team's identity?
It's not just.
It's not.
It's not just for the team, Sherrod. Statistically, Jayson Tatum is one of the worst ISO players in basketball. It's statistically when Jayson Tatum dribbles more than 3 times, he has among one of the worst scoring efficiencies for people of his volume in the game. It's statistically proven. It's not just your eyes that say, "Oh, they dribble too much." The stats bear out. When Jaylen and Jayson put the ball on the floor more than 3 times, their efficiency plummets. Okay, it's plummets. The answer is obvious. You got to move the ball. You will get it back. I think they're so afraid they're never going to get it back that they get it and it's boom, 10 seconds later, a shot goes up from somewhere. And that's what they play. They have to have some faith in, like, even if that possession
but that ship has sailed, right?
Even if that possession doesn't go your way, the next one might. You've got to establish the movement and the rhythm early. The games where they play well, you see it. It's whipping around the perimeter. They had one play tonight that resulted in a Fournier 3 where it went bing, 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 bing around the perimeter, and he got it there. And I was like, oh, look at that. It was gorgeous. And it was so normal. It's just regular basketball. you just pass the ball faster than the people can get out to the shooters until you rotate it over to somebody who is open and they hit a shot. That's what happens. That's what this game is based on. When you spread the floor with shooters, you got to move the ball. Right. You can't, if they're standing there and you're dribbling, you can't get people good looks. It's so basic, and they don't do it. It's really baffling.
Here's going to be the key to the offseason. We can say it'd be great.
And they don't run. They don't run after misses. They just don't.
That one makes
no sense. They just walk. Jayson Tatum literally takes 7. I don't want Tatum getting the ball at half court, behind the half court stripe ever again.
That one just makes no sense to me.
Takes 7.9 seconds to cross the half court stripe every time. And sometimes it's 8.5 and they really don't call it.
Yeah.
He literally is flirting with disaster every time, and it just sets you up for the shitty, slow possession it's going to be.
Because it's about what he's going to do.
He's setting it up, and you just, stop giving him the ball there, unless he's going to run.
Yeah, and Brown will do it because that's his strength. If Tatum has to speed it up and push it, he might be turning the ball over, botching what he wants to do because he wants to break the guys down one-on-one, use his array of moves in that sense. You got a question, and this is going to be so key for him this offseason. If you're going to be the guy on the ball, running the offense, taking every possession with the ball in your hands, you need to spend some time this offseason with the other guys on this team. It can't just be your one-on-one workouts, working on more moves, trying to get closer to 30 points a game in your own individual ISO game. You have to be creating for other guys.
Get him to St. Louis.
Yeah.
You've got listen,
Bobby. Picture Tatum calling up his teammates and trying to get everyone. I
don't see it. So you know what's gonna have to be?
Go to LA. Go to LA.
It's going to have to be guys like Romeo.
He's not. He's going to work out with Beal, and Jaylen's going to work out
with his all-star buddies, right?
Yeah, all-star buddies. They're not going to work. He's not going to go. He doesn't know. He doesn't have Grant's phone number.
Think he's going to pull a Kobe when Kobe used to call. Kobe would call up effing Smush Parker or whatever. Whoever he had to call, he was, we got to work out.
Smush Parker.
Tatum's not going to do that. You know what I mean?
And some of it's on those younger guys. Like Romeo's got to go to Summer League. Neesmith's got to go to Summer League. They got to do their thing and become better players in their own right. But there's got to be a greater level of connectivity between everybody on this roster next year because there was little to none this year. And it starts at the top. It really does. They had to empower those guys early. And at this point, it's way too late. None of those, you can't have any of those guys on the court because it's just not going to work. And the only hope that you have is that it's healthy and that the guys in the circle of trust are going to be the only ones that play come playoff time.
Don't be surprised if Jaylen Brown is the guy that says,
I was thinking that
this summer. I could absolutely see that, especially when you think about guys like Grant Williams, for example, who's in Charlotte, which is only a hop, skip, and a jump away. And a lot of guys
didn't we see that from Brown when Tatum was out? We saw it. He's not the best at it.
Yeah,
he'll drive hours. He don't care.
Guys, we know what they need to do this offseason. They need to what? They all need.
I'm not going to say it.
They all need to go to home.
Conversation.
No, they all need to go to homeschool.
Go to homeschool.
I thought you were going to say be your best version of themselves.
No,
I was going to say
our new mantra is the Celtics have to go to homeschool. Okay, and that's the only way out of this mess.